Last week we did, and I forgot to hit record. We did an hour interview and didn't record it.
Oh wow!
Luckily, it's memorialized on Facebook. So
okay.
And I'm waiting to see.
30 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, because I still can't get it on my phone. Usually I can see when I go live. Are we live?
2 seconds and you are now.
All right. Good afternoon, Facebook. How's everybody doing? Good afternoon to the podcast universe. This is our episode 3 of our podcast, Things My Mother Never Told Me. We have a special guest with us this evening, Reverend Carnell H.L. Richardson of the New Prospect Missionary Baptist Church. And here's my lovely wife, Tanya. Say hello to the audience.
Hello. How about that, your lovely wife?
Let me introduce this young brother to you, for those who know and don't know. Reverend Richardson is a passionate preacher of the gospel of Jesus.
Amen.
And right now he's serving in dual roles at New Prospect as the lead pastoral minister and the youth and young adult pastor for New Prospect, which is located in Detroit, Michigan. Reverend Richardson has dedicated much of his career to public service, which has included roles in the nonprofit area, city government, education, and religious sectors. He works diligently to respond to the spiritual and social needs of the youth and young adults entrusted to his care. He has his associate's degree in teacher education and a Bachelor of Arts degree in English with a minor in communication from Fair State University. Mm-hmm. He's earned a master's degree from Grand Rapids Theological Seminary at Cornerstone University. He's currently pursuing a doctorate of education degree from Cornerstone University in Grand Rapids. In 2005, he did a sermon, More Than a Conqueror, and it was published in the AME Church's most popular devotional known as Writings from the Heart or On the Heart. Reverend Richardson has achieved many awards and accolades for his leadership in the community affairs and humanitarian efforts, which include the Martin Luther King Jr. Legacy Award from Fair State University, the Whitney Young Jr. Service Award from the Boy Scouts of America, and the Mentor of the Year Award from the state of Michigan.
All right.
He is passionate about social justice and civil rights, and he has a ministerial philosophy that practices all exemplifying caring for and meeting the needs of the least, the lost, and the left out. He's a progressive advocate for civil engagement, and he makes it a priority to lend his time and talent to serving both leadership and general capacities for organizations such as the Council of Baptist Pastors of Detroit and vicinity, American Baptist Churches of Michigan, the American Red Cross, the Boy Scouts of America, and the Business Professionals of America. He's also an alumnus of the FBI Citizens Academy. His love for humanity is impeccable, and his passion for God and community is undeniable. I'll present to some and introduce to others, Reverend Carnell H.L. Richardson. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, and I thank you for having me on tonight.
We are glad to have you. So,
when do you sleep?
Yeah, that's a full.
I was like, when do?
Believe it or not, I do sleep.
All right, praise God for your strength.
Right, because with all that
pastimes.
Yes, all that and having a personal life too.
Right. I'm a newlywed, so you know.
Yeah.
Yes, and we congratulate you on that.
Yes, congratulations.
Yeah. As a newlywed, you don't get much sleep anyway, so it just all works out.
Say that.
No, you don't. So today we're going to talk about the youth in the church, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And I know that just recently you were on a panel discussing social therapy was the title, discussing youth living in the 21st century. So my first question to you is I popped in on that Zoom meeting. What did you garner from talking with those young folks about what it means to be young in this era?
Well, you know, my mind travels back to the 1980s, if believe it or not, to this sitcom called A Different World, which
Yes.
was one of Bill Cosby's brain children, if you will. And so I borrowed that phrase to say it is truly a different world. Added to the reality that socially things are different than they have ever been. We are now living in the world of a pandemic, but we're also in the world of the iPad and the iPod and the iPhone. We're also in the world of Black Lives Matter, in the world of the new Jim Crow. We're in the world of Donald Trump and people's hatred for how the racism has spilled over. So we're in a different world. But Minister Damon and Sister Tina, what really stuck out to me, and in some ways it kind of broke my heart. A lot of young people are angry, right? They're angry at the condition of the world, angry at the state of affairs that are happening. So I think in one sense they're angry, but believe it or not, many of them are still hopeful that the world can still change and that the world can be a better place and that they can lead the charge to make it a better place, but they still feel like there's some obstacles from those who have gone before them who don't want to let go of power. And you know, you were on the call and I kind of had this tug of war back and forth trying to get one of the young ladies on there to understand that you have to have a balance between the generations in order to have a healthy society. You can't just do away with all the old people and say, go away to the nursing home and be in your place. But at the same time, you know, you also have to honor them. You have to respect them. But at the same time, you can't stay stuck in all of the traditions of the past because we need to make progress.
Right. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's one of the things that I, when I was on that call listening, is that I found that I think we all get hung up with the idea of that word respect, because everybody seems to think that's something that you have to go out there and fight and scrap and to get, when really it's something that you have to fight and scrap to keep. Right. At least it should be. And so what would you say to, let's start, because you're a little older than most of them, but you're a lot younger than some of the folks we call old.
Sure.
Me being in that group.
Yeah, he is in the median.
So what would you say to young folks about how they need to deal with older folks?
With how they need to deal with?
Yes, especially in the church.
The basis for my recipe for success has been, first of all, love. You know, the Bible says that love covers a multitude of sin. Some translations say a multitude of faults. You have to love people when they are unlovable.
Yes.
And you have to love them when they don't love you back. When you know that they can't stand you, but you see a greater purpose in what you're doing. Right. That, I mean, you two know my story, and I'm not going to even go into all of it, but my ministerial philosophy and then my personal philosophy for how I live my life. Sometimes, and I don't know if I can say this word on here, but I'm going to say, sometimes you got to love the hell out of people, literally, and show them that no matter how you treat me, the way forward for me is to show you love that you may never have. Because here's the thing that I'm learning and I have learned. Some of the people we deal with, they had deep-rooted issues before you met them. Yes. It's not personal. It's not you. You haven't failed. You don't have to feel bad about yourself. Some of those people that I've had to love, I found out they've never experienced anybody else loving or respecting them.
Yes.
And they're shocked when they want me to react in a certain way. And so I say to young people, you know, first of all, don't take the bait of Satan to hate people.
Yeah.
show them that there's a more excellent way. And I shared this last week on the call. There was a lady in church, and she had an odd against me that I didn't know she had it. And she turned up her nose, and I knew there was some tension. And I said, "Excuse me, do you have a problem with me?"
Mm-hmm.
It caught her off guard because she wasn't expecting me to say that. And then she was ready for a fight, ready for a confrontation. When your enemies, or even people who are your frenemies, when they're ready for a confrontation and you say, "I'm not going to give you a confrontation. I'm here to bring reconciliation."
Right.
What can we do to fix this?
Yes.
It catches them off. It catches the devil off guard.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about it, and then she said, "Well, what it was at a funeral, you was moving so fast and you didn't say nothing to me." And I said, "You know what? I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even see you that day. Can we repair this?" I said, "I'm a young Black man. You're supposed to be supporting me. You're an older Black woman. I'm supposed to see how I can help you." And to this day, she has become an ally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And
See, love will turn enemies into friends if it's genuine and sincere. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes.
right. That's right. That's right. You know, it's I know that I was looking at you. You have a quote about truth, about how we should deal with each other in truth. I'm trying to remember how it went. It's better to give an ugly truth than
An uncomfortable truth than a lovely lie.
Yes. There we go. Talk about that real quick.
So last week on the prayer call, I dealt with living truth-filled lives.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like we now live in a society that is guilty of false positivity.
Mm-hmm.
In our political lives, in our spiritual lives, in our social lives, we're afraid to be honest and transparent. But I have learned, even in my ministry, and let me share this, education is good, and being able to use correct English is good,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
But we should never lose our dialect.
Right.
Our idiolect, the dialect being the language of a region, idiolect being the language of an individual. We shouldn't lose that. And sometimes we try to sprinkle sugar and sugarcoat things to make people feel good, but we're not helping them.
Right. Yeah.
Right? My cousin used to say, "If my breath stank, tell me so I can get some Listerine," rather than telling me I'm such a wonderful person and I don't make any changes. But every time I come to the family barbecue, here she come, here he come, his breath stank. Tell me so I can correct myself.
Amen.
And we don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. But here's what I also said in my devotional last week, that truth, and Warren Wiersbe, this is his quote, that truth without love is brutality.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But love without truth is hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you need both. I'm not saying hurt people's feelings, but help them by telling them the truth in love, and helping them to correct themselves. And that's what we do with our young people, and helping them. That's what I do. I'm like, wait a minute, let me pull you to the side. And T.D. Jakes said this. He said that the things that he hated his parents for as a child, he loved them for as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And he told his children, "I need to tell you the truth and correct you now so that the police or the IRS or the school teacher won't have to correct you later."
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
My daughter said the same thing to me when "Mom, I'm so glad you told me about this." That's what I'm saying. She had got a ticket for parking in a handicap. And then her friend was telling her "Oh, you ain't got to pay that ticket." I was up there saying, not only you have to pay that ticket, but you got to pay me for the ticket because you ain't got the $100 to pay it. And I said, she don't know no more than you do.
Right.
And so, go ahead.
You know, you mentioned that I sit on the board for Business Professionals of America. I started off on the junior board and I climbed up. So every year we have this leadership conference in Grand Rapids, and there's not a lot of African Americans in this organization anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one day we walking down the hallway, and this boy, he had an excellent presentation, but he didn't know how to tie his tie to go into the presentation. Here's a black boy, and he came up to me and he said, "Sir, excuse me, but I don't mean to bother you, and I'm kind of embarrassed, but can you tie this tie? I said, you know what? I'm going to teach you how to tie it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
Nobody taught him. Nobody showed him. And then I said, by the way, you need your shoes shined. Let's go down the hall and get your shoes shined. If nobody tells these young people the right way,
right,
society ain't gonna tell them, because the people they're competing with for the job, they're not gonna tell them. Their parents not, because they want it.
right.
And we leave our people out to, oh, I'm not going to, I ain't going to get them that information because I don't want them to get ahead of me. No, we need to tell each other things that are going to help. That's why this program that you have going, this is wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
When you talk about what we need to tell each other stuff, because you've been dealing with the youth, with the young adult ministry for a while now, and you getting positive results. Have you found that you have to figure out a particular way to talk to them to get a message across to them? And if so, what is that?
Well, you know, the first thing is meeting them where they are.
Okay.
You know, I think about the woman at the well. When Jesus went and sat down on that well, he knew exactly what she was dealing with, and he was able to unpack all of the layers of her situation.
Okay.
But here's the other thing. I'm teachable myself. I'm learning by listening to what they're saying so that I understand how to respond. And I also evaluate myself. Sometimes I say stuff goes over, they don't even know what okay, I got to reevaluate. Then sometimes I'm hitting all the points and saying all the buzzwords, and then they just come alive, and then I'm sitting there going, oh my God. Oh my God. I didn't even, oh my God.
I didn't open up a door. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're teaching me stuff. But the key is being genuine, because they know when you really care about them versus when you're just checking off a box to say, I did this. And I sit and I try to understand their plight and understand what they're going through, and not try to put myself too far above them as human beings, and realize a lot of them they're very intelligent.
Yes, yes. And so with that, I got two things. I'm going to segue to this other one because of what you just said. You posted on Facebook today, was it, about the Wayne State graduation rate for black kids, black, and 21%.
Yeah.
And I had shared with you that they had Wayne State's president said that in 2011 the graduation rate for black students was 7%.
7%.
And so, do you see a way that we can impress upon our young folks the importance of education and getting that college degree?
You know, I would say my mindset in a lot of ways has changed in the last 2 to 3 years on that, because I also believe we should be pushing trade school, and we should be pushing other avenues, entrepreneurship. Yes. We shouldn't just push the traditional 4-year model. We should be pushing community college, which is much cheaper. My oldest sister only has an associate's degree in medical surgical technology. She's probably making about $75,000 a year. We should be pushing and promoting those things as well, without losing the message that a 4-year degree can open up a lot of doors in a lot of different arenas.
Yes.
Right? Because my friend who did the Zoom call last week, he works for the post office. His degree is in mathematics, but it opened up so many doors for promotion for him within the United States Postal Service. I don't think it's a problem, though. Watch this. For us to get to the academy, to get to higher education, I think the bigger problem is getting us to graduate.
Yes. Yes.
You know, a lot of us can get in, but then, and I thought about this as they were talking last night on Fox 2 News about the graduation rate at Wayne State. First of all, if you've grown up in the city of Detroit and you got to catch the bus to school and all of that stuff, and you're trying to take care of family, sometimes staying can be more of a hindrance to your education because you're not out of the nest. You're not out of the, that's why I left Detroit. I said, I'm not, and that's why I elected not to go to Wayne State, because I was like, I don't want to be here. I need to be on campus where I can roll out of bed and get to class in 5 minutes. And that's what
Jada.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, I went to Western Michigan and I messed around and came home and transferred to Wayne State. And when I went to Wayne State, it was like being back in high school.
Right.
So I'm an advocate of young folks, at least for the first year. If they're going to go to college, go away. Get away, like you said, so they can experience the whole thing and learn how to grow up. So, I agree with you that the 4-year thing is not the most important, but something beyond high school is you have to get. There's no, I'll give you an example. I worked for the government for 30 years. When I first went in there, all you had to do was take a test. You pass the test, get on the list, you get hired. Once you got in there, you work X amount of years, you apply for a job, you get promoted. The jobs that I got promoted to, because I was there, I was able to get them. I don't have a college degree. I went to college, don't have a degree. But if I had to try to get in there, the same job that I got without a degree from the outside, the job that I wound up in, you had to have a PhD.
Wow.
You had to have a PhD to get that job. I started at the one that had an associate's, then to bachelor's, master, but so it's important that if you're not in somewhere, you got to have some kind of paper behind your name in this era that we're in to be as the best that you can be. I'll put it that way. Because I was talking to my daughter, it doesn't matter what your degree is in as much as it is that you have one.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get back to these young folks. We start talking about the respect that older folks don't show to young people, mostly because they don't remember when they were that age. And a lot of times they don't remember what young folks have done. I mean, Martin Luther King was a very young man when he did all the wonderful things that he did.
Right.
And so we have to, and that's why I want you, wonder what's your philosophy on it, because you're dealing with the youth consistently on how to get them to remember, to push forward through all this, because some older folks don't respect youth, mainly because they just don't know no better.
Yeah.
And so how would you address it to the young folks to press forward when it comes to the barriers they face?
I think you have to continue to be excellent. And here's I'm full of quotes, Minister Damon. I'm full of quotes. Oprah Winfrey said, when you are excellent, you become unforgettable.
Right.
And I think you have to be both. I mean, so excellent and so on point and so on your game that, people have no choice but to look back at your journey and say, I admire them because they never gave up. They never gave us anything but the best. They never wavered on who they were. And then, you can't let people's opinions of you and preconceived notions of you stop you from your destiny. And I have a good friend who is finishing their residency at Henry Ford Hospital to be a doctor. A kid from the east side of Detroit who's becoming a medical doctor. I had a appointment recently with a new doctor who's also a millennial doctor, a Black millennial doctor.
Yes.
I've got other friends who are attorneys and prosecutors and other friends that I went to school with who now own their own businesses and they're CEOs and all this stuff. And they never gave up. And guess what? The same scrutiny that I face as being younger in ministry, they're facing in corporate America.
Yes.
It's happening. I faced it when I worked in corporate America. But you can't give up. And the Bible says, I got to go back to scripture, be not weary in well doing.
Yes.
If you're ready to quit because somebody doesn't like you or doesn't value you because of your age, then you're not ready.
Right.
And I mean, you got to come at it 100% every day. Bring your A game, not the B game or the C game. You got to bring your A game. And it's sad that we have to work so hard, and especially as Black people, even amongst ourselves, that we have to run faster and jump higher. But that's, you know, when life makes lemon, give you lemon, you got to make lemonade, because what I learned is somebody might not like the shoes you have on.
Right.
They might not like the color of glasses you chose, and they may not like, who does he think he is? He always come in here dressed as who does he? He's arrogant. No. I've had people say to me as a young person, you know, until I started talking to you, I didn't like you. I said, well, why not? Oh, because I just thought you was mean. I said, well, why did you think that? I don't know. I had to get over myself. I was saying to myself, see, why should I shrink to make other people feel better about themselves?
Right.
As long as I'm loving them and I'm respectful and I'm doing the right thing, you know.
Yeah.
This thing is a sprint. It's a marathon, not just a sprint. You got to be able to go the distance.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Well, you know what I heard years ago is that when people dislike people they don't know, when they first meet them, it's one or two reasons. One, either they see something in that person that reminds them of themselves, and it's something that they either don't like about themselves or that they are trying to achieve and haven't achieved it yet, and that person has. And so they automatically make that their reason to dislike you.
Right.
And so we have those problems. So what I want to, and you mentioned East Side and all that, in your bio, you didn't have your high school. I know what high school you went, but tell the folks what high school you went to.
The Big NO, located at, what's the address there? Now, I don't even remember the address, but listen, it'll come to me. Located on West Grand Boulevard in the city of Detroit, Michigan, Northwestern High School, the home of the Colts. It used to be located on Grand River and the Boulevard, but now it's smack dab in the middle of the Boulevard. Proud to be a graduate from there. They changed the name to the Collegiate Preparatory Academy at Northwestern, and I was privileged to do the last speech, commencement speech for the last graduating class at Northwestern. But I'm happy to report that the school board is going to change the name back to Northwestern High School.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you're going to change to Carnell Richardson High School.
Well, that would be good too. But I'll settle for Northwestern High School.
Right. And I asked you that question because, you know, as I was going over your bio and reading all the stuff you've done, I was thinking about it. One of the things that's important for the young people out there to see is that you could go to an inner city school and still make it.
Absolutely.
And still do good things and still be relevant and still care for your community and help. And it's important that they know that, because
can I chime in on that too and say, you know, nobody, I need to take my glasses off for this. Nobody should be ashamed of where they've come from, because most of us we didn't select the neighborhood that we came from. You can't select your family.
Exactly.
Right.
You didn't select your circumstances. And one of the things that I give kudos to are the teachers that I had at that school who genuinely cared. And there's a misconception that we didn't learn anything in Detroit public schools. My passion to become an English major and an English teacher, and I did teach for a year in Grand Rapids, my passion to do that was from English teachers that I was taught through at Northwestern, like Teresa Love, and I'm gonna call their name, Teresa Love and Edward Douglas and Patricia Wyrick Johnson, who's a member of our church.
Yes.
Was my English teacher at Northwestern. But watch this. She was Art Remy's English teacher at Davis Aerospace Academy back in the day. And Art is much older than me.
Yes.
So and guess what? I still have a relationship with many of my teachers, with my principal, they instilled in us a sense of excellence and to never give up. And believe it or not, we did learn. So we weren't just a bunch of hoods in the hood that wasn't going nowhere. We actually had teachers who poured into us. And these were mostly Black teachers. Now I had some white teachers who were very influential in my life too. But we know and let me say this too, to everybody watching, Cass, King, and Renaissance are not the only schools in Detroit, high schools in Detroit public schools. We often put Cass, King, and Renaissance. I love y'all technicians.
Thank
all
you.
right. And all of you Mumfordites and all of you Renaissance-ites and Martin Luther, but there are other schools. And we need to honor the Detroit public school system overall because it has produced a lot of good people.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
Yeah,
I even told my children, it doesn't matter what school you went to. If you got a dream, follow it. It doesn't matter. You don't even have to have all the grades, because I know people that didn't even make the grades, but they are very successful people now.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it comes from, you find that, like you said, that person that inspired you
mm-hmm.
to be the best you could be. It's funny you mentioned that about art having the same teacher as you.
Yeah.
My daughter and son had one of the same teachers I had.
Wow.
Yes.
And from elementary school.
and watch this. My business education teacher drove me to my first job interview when I was in 11th grade.
All right.
Wow. Okay.
And that's an investment.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
To see somebody go on and to succeed, that's an investment.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So then it brings me to the point that, and I'm sure you know this more than most, that for us to keep the youth involved in church activity in the church itself, then us older folks need to invest in them. However, we need to invest in them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? I see two people that I'm looking at on my screen that have invested heavily. You have volunteered for summer camp and VBS and after school program, and Minister Damon, you've gone on trips with us out of state and, left your home. You don't have any children who are small or teenagers in the program, but you've invested that time. And that means a lot to them to see you even outside the pulpit that way. You care about us. That goes a long way.
Yeah.
Sister Dixon, I say jokingly, wow, I wish I was a first grader again, because the way her and Helen Malone spoiled those first graders in that after school program is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And they will, and I'm telling you, those kids will never forget it. Maya Angelou said that people might forget about what you said, what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
what you do
that's
for
right.
reason.
That's right. Okay, now we come to this segment here where I decided that everybody got to answer this question. The title of this podcast is Things My Mother Never Told Me. Is there anything that you can think of that you've encountered in your life? And I know your mother's still with us. It's the past guest, mother's gone on. But is there anything that you've encountered in your life that she just never told you? Not because a bad mother or that she just didn't do it, because it probably was never something that was thought about.
Well, there's a lot of life lessons that I learned outside of the classroom. So, we talk about mathematics and how you're going to use algebra and all this stuff in the future. No, our mothers should have told us more about financial literacy and our credit and making the right decision. And I'm gonna brag a little bit on myself and say I'm pretty good when it comes to that. But there were things that I wish I would have known sooner concerning that, even that I think would have made me even stronger. Though I think I've done a great job at it. So that's definitely
that's a big one.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those things that I think that our mothers in our communities certainly could talk about more.
Right. Yeah, and I think on that note, especially in the case of my mother being, much older, it's probably the way, the era they came up in, that they were more concerned with running the household than worrying about telling the kids about those aspects of it, because it wasn't a pressing issue. Now, especially now, it's a pressing issue, and I'm sure your young folks are going to get a full dose of that financial literacy, because kids need to know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, even about retirement and investments and things. And
Yes.
Of course.
so I'm happy to say I'm grateful to have certain things in place for my future. But a lot of that was because I met people in my career when I was in corporate nonprofit, and then they impressed upon me, okay, you need to save outside of the retirement your company is giving you. You need a 401k, you need a Roth IRA. I mean, I learned a lot of that through the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce and networking with people, and so which brings me to another point of something that, our parents always said, go to school, get a degree, and then everything is going to be all right. But they should have said, no, you got to also network with people. And it's not about just what you know, but it's also about who you know, and trying to find those right opportunities to connect.
Right. Without a doubt. Those are two good ones. And also make yourself indispensable.
There was a young lady at our church. She was just posting on Facebook, and she finally made it to the 700 Club. And she's going to teach her children about finances, about, because she had a little vision board, and she's going to teach her children about finances and credit scores and credit cards, all that. So, and I let her know that is a good thing to start right now. Yes.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, on that point, financial, your credit scores, that's a new thing, at least for the public. Society at large tends to change the finish line, if you will, the closer we get to it. So every time we find one thing out, they come up with something else.
Right.
Down. And that was one of those things, because in the past, nobody knew what a credit score was. They probably had them, but we didn't know what they were.
Right.
And then we started accumulating too much wealth and trying to accumulate things. And so now you got to figure out a way to stop us from doing it. So, credit score. Because, they use that score, at least the thing they just passed supposed to stop it. But they use that score to determine your insurance rate.
Yeah. And one more thing I would add that is really important to me is that, a lot of our parents were good with putting food on the table.
Yes.
But they didn't teach us how to eat healthy.
No, they did not.
and when we have diabetes and high blood pressure and, other heart disease, a lot of it comes from our eating habits. And, some of us ate very good coming up. I know I did, but did I eat healthy? And so now it's like, I got to be intentional about that health and exercise and dieting, because, my mom worked, she worked at Ford Motor Company 33 years and provided very well, but she didn't have time to stop and say, you need to eat these vegetables, you need to do this, you need to do that. But then as I got older and grown and I'm a professional now, you need to watch your weight. Don't get too fat. She can tell me if I look too fat, but I needed to know about cholesterol and about, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
About,
exactly.
High blood pressure and see, for a lot of us, my mom is in her 70s. She's like, well, now it doesn't matter. They got pills. I can take my high blood pressure pills and eat whatever I want. Well, no.
That is not the purpose.
Gotta teach because too many young people, I can't tell you, I have preached the funeral of some of my classmates who died from heart attacks. And I just believe if their lifestyles would have been a little different, they may have survived longer.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
My You know.
Yeah, and you know the problem, and it's a generational thing, and so that's why it's good that we having this conversation, because I know that you having a conversation with the young folks, is that your mother fed you the way she did because that's the way she was fed.
That's right.
We didn't know that food was bad. We didn't
Right.
find out until later on when we started finding out about cholesterol and clogged arteries and all that stuff, because fried chicken was at least twice a week. with pork chops one of the other days.
But let me add this though, Minister, that the difference with my grandmother was this, and she's 94 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She's old enough that when she was feeding my mother, even though they didn't have a lot, she wasn't feeding her McDonald's, because guess what?
That's right.
They couldn't afford McDonald's. She was feeding her whatever she could cook at home,
Mm-hmm.
and the food was safer.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Now I watch people feeding McDonald's. And now that I've become a parent, I'm like, hold up. McDonald's got to be a special thing, you know?
Right.
Yes.
We don't. We get kids who have, and when we have youth events and stuff, myself, Minister Maxine, we now are saying, we're going to have salads, we're going to have wraps, we're going to have some healthier options.
Yes.
We'll still do pizza because you can't, you know, you got to do some of that, but
Mhm.
we're going to try to do healthy stuff too.
Yeah. Did my background just go crazy?
The background is green.
The light went out. Well, whatever. We'll do that. We'll worry about that later. Yeah. So right, and that's the key. If you know the saying, if you know better, you do better. In our community, has to be true. It can't be just a saying. It has to be true. And so, if we know better, then we need to reach out to the kids and teach them better, so that they can be around to reap the benefits of this revolution that we find ourselves in the middle of. And also, and I know you've had this discussion with your young people. The young people are the ones who have to spearhead these battles.
Yeah.
They have to. And us old folks can sit back and guide and direct and advise, but you need that young energy to fight these battles. You just do.
Yeah.
Because they've been protesting for how long now?
Oh man, some people, it's been well over 100 days.
Right.
Ooh,
Right.
yes,
We
yes,
gave
yes.
up after about 10 or 15. We'd have been through. So
no, we want results immediately.
right.
Hey, Reverend Carnell, also I wanted to ask you about the young people about the face coverings. Are you finding that? I mean, how can we get them now that it's really happening to any age right about now? Yeah.
I think it's a matter of education, and you may have to get raw with them. I mean, just like in sex education, I treat this as sex education class. You know, in sex education class or in biology, some people may not believe an STD is real until you show them that this is what could happen to your private part. Hello. This is what could happen to you, and you could risk death if you don't do it. We got to continue to tell the story and continue to impress on people. Look, this is real. And I tell people all the time, my uncle died at the end of April from COVID-19 and wasn't buried until May. This is not a joke. And if we can have more media campaigns instead of spreading gossip and talk about Will and Jada's entanglements and really talk about important stuff, like the fact that COVID is real, and that, you know, just like they did those AIDS campaigns and wrap it up, we need to do a campaign called Mask It Up. And the best slogan I've seen by far is mask it or casket.
Right.
So,
And I haven't even seen that one.
you gotta put it in terms that people understand. And then maybe, encourage people to make it cool. Design a mask. It would be fun if we had a youth event where youth could design their own mask and make their own mask, that they want to wear. If you want to put scripture on it, your favorite Disney character, I don't care what it is. You need a mask.
Yes.
Right.
So I may have just birthed a new idea here.
I was about to say that. That's something you need to look into doing, because young folks will do something if it's fun.
Right.
if it has a bit of fun to it. So yeah, that
It's
sounds like a
coming
good
from somebody
idea.
they like and then admire and
Right,
mhm.
right. So you got any more questions for Rev?
No, that was it.
Rev, I'm gonna give you a chance to make a last statement on this thing if you care to.
I would say that as I thought about my time with young people, every assignment that I've ever had was based on a need that needed to be filled.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I keep doing what I do is because I know there's a need to be filled and that there's a duty to fulfill. And as I thought about it, I've been the full-time youth pastor of New Prospect for 4 years now, but I was involved years before I was full-time. 4
Right.
years, lead minister now for 3. The need is great. The harvest is plentiful. The laborers are few.
Yes.
We got to keep going. Everybody, but I could not do what I do without the people like yourselves who support me, who work alongside me. I don't ever consider myself nobody's boss. We are co-laboring together for the good of everyone that we serve.
Amen.
Amen.
All
yes,
right.
Absolutely.
Right. Without a doubt. And with that, we want to thank you for your time. Thank you for the pearls of wisdom that you dropped.
Yes.
And we know that our kids are in good hands. Keep doing the good work that you're doing.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Yes, keep on loving them in spirit and in truth.
So we're going to end this segment. I do want everybody to know that you got anything coming up that you're going to be doing outside the church?
Not that off the top of my head. I mean, I'll be preaching at another church. Y'all pray for me next Sunday. So I'm going to preach at our church early, and then I'm going to go to another church. I'll post it on my Facebook. I'll be preaching at Bethel Baptist Church. It's downriver.
Mm-hmm.
I've led workshops and seminars for them, for young people. I've preached in their pulpit. I traveled with some of them to Haiti. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And just going to continue to do what I do. But any other things that we do with our New Prospect youth, of course, I'll post it on Facebook.
Right. Okay, cool.
All right. Then.
Right.
We really appreciate you taking out your time with us.
And so everybody knows we'll be back next week at 6:30 again. Our guest will be Reverend Dr. April Hearn. We'll be talking about abuse. Is it?
Domestic violence.
Domestic violence in the
church.
In the church. Yeah, that's a deep subject. I need to schedule somebody with some comedy right after that. But we appreciate everything that you do.
Yes.
We appreciate you for coming on board and sharing with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, we do a music video. We play music, gospel music on Thursdays at 4:30 to 6:30, on Mixcloud on Sundays 4:30 to 6:30, and then we change it up a little bit on Tuesdays. We do a little old school, just so we can remember where we were, and how we used to be. So you take care, and how far we've come. That's right, how far we come, because we still do it to honor God.
Yes.
Reverend Carnell, we thank you.
Thank you.
We thank everybody out there for listening in, and we're out of here. Take care. Peace.
All right. Bye-bye. No, you said a light.